More than 40 years ago, a group of actors stepped onto one of the coldest, most physically punishing movie sets in Hollywood history. They were assembled to portray 12 deeply paranoid men trapped in the frozen wasteland of Antarctica, hunted by an ancient, shape-shifting entity that could perfectly mimic any living organism. Today, the film's iconic leading man, Kurt Russell, is still actively making headlines. Just recently, Russell made waves across the entertainment industry when he candidly discussed his decision to partially walk away from the Hollywood machine for a quiet, rugged ranch life, mentioning how multiple industry insiders warned him that leaving the direct glare of the spotlight would permanently destroy his career. Yet, while Russell successfully defied those warnings, remaining a vibrant, celebrated icon of the silver screen, many of the brave men who stood directly beside him in that sub-zero nightmare are no longer with us. The passage of time has done what the alien organism could not, slowly claiming the lives of several incredible character actors who gave this sci-fi masterpiece its grounded human heart. Who was the very first cast member to pass away after the film's release? What hidden burdens did these actors carry once the cameras stopped rolling? And where exactly are the surviving stars today? The very first member of the Outpost 31 crew to leave us was the brilliant character actor, Charles Hallahan, who portrayed Vance Norris, the unassuming geologist whose underlying heart condition serves as the catalyst for the most terrifyingly famous practical effects sequence in horror history. Born on July 29, 1943, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Hallahan was a highly educated, fiercely dedicated stage veteran before he ever stepped in front of a Hollywood camera. He earned a Bachelor of Arts from Rutgers University and a Master of Fine Arts from Temple University, honing his craft in rigorous theatrical productions. He was 38 years old during the grueling production of The Thing, having caught the attention of John Carpenter through his robust, commanding presence in early character roles on television shows like The Rockford Files and The Paper Chase. Hallahan was cast because he possessed the exact type of everyday, blue-collar authenticity Carpenter desperately wanted. He looked like a real worker you would find at a remote research station, not a polished Hollywood star. In the film, Hallahan's character is central to a monumental turning point in special effects history. When Norris appears to suffer a fatal heart attack from the sheer stress of the alien threat, Dr. Copper rushes to resuscitate him with a defibrillator. As the paddles hit his chest, Norris's sternum suddenly caves inward, transforming into a massive, tooth-lined mouth that brutally severs the doctor's forearms. Behind the scenes, this sequence required an unbelievable level of coordination and physical endurance from Hallahan. Special effects wizard Rob Bottin constructed a hyper-realistic prosthetic torso filled with real animal entrails and artificial blood, which was seamlessly aligned with a hidden compartment where Hallahan lay submerged beneath the table for hours on end. To make the severed arms look completely real, Bottin actually hired a real-life double amputee, fitting him with prosthetic arms filled with fake bones and gelatinous blood that tore away perfectly on camera. When the creature's head subsequently detached from Norris's body, sprouted spider-like legs, and crawled across the floor, the cast's reactions of sheer, unvarnished disgust were entirely authentic. Hallahan recalled that the set smelled heavily of rotting food due to the hot studio lights baking the animal remains inside the prop torso. Following his unforgettable role in The Thing, Charles Hallahan enjoyed a highly prolific, respected career as one of Hollywood's most dependable character actors. He became a staple of American television, most notably starring as the gruff, authoritative Captain Charlie Devane on the hit NBC cop drama Hunter from 1986 to 1991. He continued to showcase his incredible range on the big screen, appearing in high-profile films like Silkwood, Pale Rider, Executive Decision, and the 1997 disaster blockbuster Dante's Peak. tragically, just months after the release of Dante's Peak, life mirrored art in the most heartbreaking way possible. On November 25th, 1997, while staying in Los Angeles, Charles Hallahan suffered a sudden, fatal heart attack. He was only 54 years old. His untimely passing sent shockwaves through the acting community, leaving behind a rich legacy of theatrical excellence and a permanent mark on horror cinema. But as the cast mourned the loss of their first brother, another legendary figure from the film was quietly cementing a massive legacy of his own, unaware that his final years would bring a prolonged, quiet battle against his own fading health. The second member of the ensemble to pass away was Richard Dysart, who played the dedicated but ultimately doomed medical officer, Dr. Copper. Born on March 30th, 1929 in Boston, Massachusetts, Dysart was a towering figure of the American stage and screen. Before arriving at Outpost 31, he had already built a formidable reputation as a highly distinguished character actor, having served in the United States Air Force during the Korean War, and later co-founding the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. At 52 years of age during the filming of The Thing, Dysart was one of the senior, most experienced actors on the cold set. John Carpenter specifically sought him out because he possessed an innate aura of intelligence, stability, and calm authority, traits that were absolutely vital for the camp's primary physician, whose sudden, violent death would completely shatter the character's remaining sense of medical security. Dysart's most memorable moment in the movie is undeniably his tragic death scene during the defibrillator sequence. When his character presses the paddles onto Norris's chest, only to have his hands swallowed and severed by the alien torso, Dysart had to perfectly convey an agonizing mixture of absolute shock and physical torment. To achieve the effect without risking the actor's safety, the effects team used the aforementioned double amputee dressed in identical clothing, wearing a seamless mask made from a mold of Dysart's face. The terrifying realism of the sequence left Dysart deeply impressed by the sheer ingenuity of the crew, though he frequently commented on how incredibly uncomfortable the freezing studio sets were. Carpenter kept the sound stages chilled to near freezing temperatures to ensure the actor's breath would naturally vaporize on camera, which meant Dysart and his co-stars spent weeks shivering in heavy gear under intense studio lights.
After The Thing, Richard Dysart achieved the greatest commercial and critical success of his entire career. In 1986, he landed the iconic role of Leland Mackenzie, the deeply moral but pragmatic senior partner of a powerful law firm in the landmark NBC legal drama series LA Law. His brilliant performance on the show earned him immense critical acclaim, resulting in 4 consecutive Primetime Emmy Award nominations and a triumphant win for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series in 1990. Beyond television, he lent his powerful, resonant voice to numerous documentaries and animated projects, including portraying Warren Reinhardt in Batman the Animated Series. In his later years, Dysart stepped back from the grueling pace of Hollywood, choosing to live a peaceful life in Santa Monica, California. Sadly, following a long, incredibly private, and courageous battle with cancer, Richard Dysart passed away at his home on April 5th, 2015, at the age of 86. He left behind a legacy of absolute professionalism, remembered by his peers as a true actor's actor, who brought profound dignity to every single frame he occupied. Yet, as the world said goodbye to the camp's beloved doctor, the station commander, who shared so many tense, unforgettable scenes with him, was also drawing closer to the end of his own remarkable journey.
The chronological journey through the surviving cast members begins with the fiercely talented and intellectually sharp David Clennon, who portrayed Palmer, the laconic, perpetually stoned assistant mechanic whose relaxed exterior hides the film's most shocking creature revelation. Born on May 10, 1943 in Waukegan, Illinois, Clennon is currently 83 years old. Long before he entered the freezing world of Outpost 31, he was a deeply serious, highly educated actor, holding a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Notre Dame and a Master of Fine Arts from the prestigious Yale School of Drama. Clennon was 38 years old during the production of The Thing, having built a strong reputation in the New York theater scene and appearing in notable films like Coming Home and Being There. He was cast after delivering a brilliant audition that perfectly captured Palmer's detached, counterculture attitude, providing a necessary layer of dark comedic relief to an otherwise incredibly bleak narrative.
Following his legendary role in The Thing, David Clennon achieved massive critical acclaim on television, most notably winning a Primetime Emmy Award for his brilliant, recurring portrayal of the ruthless, manipulative advertising executive Miles Drentle in the hit series 30-something and its sequel, Once and Again. Beyond his extensive acting credits, which include roles in blockbusters like Gone Girl and JMB the Movie, Clennon is famous within Hollywood for his fierce, uncompromising political activism. A staunch progressive, he has frequently sacrificed high-profile acting opportunities to protest international conflicts and civil rights violations, embodying a rare level of personal integrity. Today, at 83, he remains a deeply respected, intellectually vibrant figure, occasionally participating in retrospective interviews, where he looks back at Palmer with immense fondness. Yet, the survival of Palmer's character in the memories of horror fans is directly contrasted by the tragic, frantic fate of the camp's meteorologist, played by an actor whose journey after the film would take him deep into the heart of the American theater.
The third actor from the film to cross the veil was the veteran British-American performer Donald Moffat, who gave a phenomenal, fiercely tense performance as Garry, the rigid, high-strung station commander of Outpost 31. Born on December 26, 1930, in Plymouth, Devon, England, Moffat trained at the prestigious Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London and served in the Royal West African Frontier Force before permanently moving to the United States to pursue his artistic dreams. By the time he was cast in The Thing at the age of 51, he was a seasoned veteran of both Broadway and Hollywood, known for his incredible ability to portray men under immense institutional pressure. John Carpenter chose Moffat because he could brilliantly project the brittle authority of a commander who realizes with mounting horror that he is completely losing control of his men and his own sanity. Following his unforgettable turn as Garry, Donald Moffat's career continued to flourish across theater, film, and television. He delivered a stunning performance as Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson in the acclaimed 1983 space race film The Right Stuff, and later played the corrupt, duplicitous U.S. President Bennett in the 1994 Harrison Ford political thriller Clear and Present Danger. Moffat was a relentless worker, accumulating over 80 film and television credits, while remaining deeply dedicated to the stage, earning 2 Tony Award nominations throughout his illustrious career. He officially retired from acting in 2005 to spend his remaining years surrounded by his loving family. On December 20th, 2018, just 6 days shy of his 88th birthday, Donald Moffat passed away in Sleepy Hollow, New York, due to complications from a stroke. His death marked the loss of another foundational pillar of Outpost 31.
A man whose ability to capture human vulnerability amidst extreme terror remains a benchmark for the genre. But the toll of time on the legendary crew was not finished yet, and the next actor to leave us would be the very man whose character initiated the tragic isolation of the camp in the first place.
Wilford Brimley, Blair. The fourth and most recent member of the main cast to pass away was the beloved, universally recognizable character actor, Wilford Brimley, who delivered an absolutely chilling, unforgettable performance as Dr. Blair, the senior biologist who first calculates the world-ending threat of the alien organism. Born on September 27, 1934, in Salt Lake City, Utah, Brimley was the furthest thing from a traditional, pampered Hollywood actor. He dropped out of high school to serve in the United States Marine Corps during the Korean War, and later worked as a real-life cowboy, a blacksmith, and a bodyguard for the eccentric billionaire Howard Hughes. He didn't even begin acting professionally until his 40s, using his genuine, rugged background to land authentic roles. He was 47 years old when filming The Thing, and John Carpenter cast him specifically because his gravelly voice, prominent mustache, and no-nonsense demeanor made him the perfect embodiment of a practical scientist driven to absolute madness by an incomprehensible cosmic horror. Brimley's character arc provides The Thing with some of its most terrifying sequences. After realizing the alien will inevitably assimilate the entire human race if it reaches the mainland, Blair snaps, systematically destroying the camp's radio equipment and vehicles before being locked away in a remote wooden tool shed. His delivery of the line, "I'm all right now,"
"I'd like to come back inside," while standing in the shadows of the shed, remains an iconic moment in horror history. During production, Brimley brought a fierce, uncompromising work ethic to the set, but he also clashed occasionally with Carpenter over the pacing of his character's descent into insanity, pushing for a more subdued, deeply unsettling portrayal rather than manic screaming. His instincts proved entirely correct, creating a performance that feels profoundly disturbing. Brimley was deeply respected for his absolute authenticity and charitable endeavors throughout his long life. On August 1st, 2020, at the age of 85, Wilford Brimley passed away at a hospital in St. George, Utah, while suffering from a severe kidney ailment. His passing felt like the end of an era, leaving fans worldwide mourning a man who was as genuinely tough and warm in real life as he was unforgettable on screen. With the passing of these four extraordinary gentlemen, the focus of our retrospective now shifts to the surviving members of Outpost 31, men who carry the memories of that legendary Frozen set into the modern era, beginning with the brilliant actor who brought the camp's eccentric, joint-rolling assistant mechanic to life. Our retrospective moves next to the masterful character actor, Peter Maloney, who gave a deeply impactful performance as George Bennings, the serious, easily irritated meteorologist who becomes one of the very first victims of the alien infiltration inside the camp. Born on November 23, 1944, in Chicago, Illinois, Maloney is currently 81 years old. He was 37 years old during the grueling shoot of The Thing, coming to the production as a highly seasoned veteran of the New York stage and an accomplished playwright. Maloney had built a reputation for playing highly neurotic, intensely articulate characters, which made him the absolute perfect choice for Bennings, a man whose rigid professional routine is completely shattered by the chaotic, deeply unscientific horror unfolding around him. Maloney is responsible for one of the movie's most hauntingly iconic visual images. After being attacked by the remains of the Norwegian corpse in the ready room, Bennings flees out into the freezing Antarctic night. When the rest of the crew catches up to him in the snow, they discover he is mid-assimilation. He turns toward them, his hands transformed into grotesque, slimy tendrils, and lets out a terrifying, inhuman, high-pitched alien shriek before MacReady incinerates him with a flamethrower. To film this chilling sequence, Maloney had to stand out in real, freezing outdoor conditions for hours, wearing complex, uncomfortable latex prosthetics on his hands that were coated in thick, freezing chemical slime. Maloney recalled that the shriek itself was later synthesized in post-production, but the raw, visceral look of absolute terror and confusion on his face as he stood in the blowing snow was entirely real. After his memorable death in The Thing, Peter Maloney enjoyed a remarkably long, incredibly varied career as one of New York and Hollywood's most sought-after character actors. He became a favorite of legendary writer-director David Mamet, appearing in numerous acclaimed films like The Untouchables, Homicide, and Oleana.
Horror fans also recognize him for his poignant, deeply unsettling performance in Darren Aronofsky's psychological masterpiece, Requiem for a Dream. Beyond film, Maloney has accumulated over 100 television appearances, including roles on Law and Order and Gossip Girl, while remaining profoundly committed to the stage as a lifelong member of the Atlantic Theater Company. Today, at 81, Maloney lives a peaceful, deeply artistic life in New York, highly celebrated by his peers as a master of the acting craft who could turn a brief, supporting role into an eternal horror legend. But while Bennings' cinematic end was defined by fire and ice, the actor who played the camp's intensely paranoid dog handler would have to face a very different kind of psychological endurance test on set.
The next surviving legend of Outpost 31 is the exceptionally talented Richard Masur, who delivered a wonderfully subtle, deeply eerie performance as Clark, the quiet, reclusive dog handler who forms a closer bond with the station's sled dogs than with any of his human crewmates. Born on November 20th, 1948 in New York City, Masur is currently 77 years old. He was 33 years old during the production of The Thing, already possessing an incredibly impressive Hollywood resume that included prominent roles in classic television series like Rhoda, One Day at a Time, and Michael Cimino's acclaimed film Heaven's Gate. John Carpenter cast Masur because he needed an actor who could project a deeply unsettling, ambiguous energy. Throughout the first half of the film, Clark's fierce defense of the mysterious infected dog makes him the primary suspect, keeping the audience completely off balance. Masur's performance is anchored by the horrifyingly tense kennel sequence, where he introduces the beautiful Alaskan Malamute mix named Jed to the camp's other dogs. As the dog begins to grotesquely mutate, sprouting massive tentacles and spraying a corrosive fluid, Clark can only watch in absolute paralyzed horror before being pulled away. Behind the scenes, Masur formed a genuinely deep, incredible bond with Jed, the highly trained animal actor. Masur spent weeks working closely with the dog before filming began to ensure their on-screen dynamic looked entirely natural. He frequently notes that Jed was an absolute professional, capable of holding perfectly still and altering his facial expressions on command. However, Masur also recalled the immense physical discomfort of filming the kennel scene, which utilized highly complex animatronics and puppeteers jammed into tight, foul-smelling spaces underneath the floorboards to operate the monstrous creature rigs.
T.K. Carter, Nauls. Our retrospective continues with the immensely energetic and charismatic T.K. Carter, who gave an incredibly memorable, vibrant performance as Nauls, the roller-skating, music-loving camp cook, whose ultimate fate remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in science fiction history. Born on December 18, 1956 in New York City, Carter is currently 69 years old. He was just 25 years old during the filming of The Thing, making him the youngest member of the main human cast. Carter was already a rising star in Hollywood, known for his sharp comedic timing in films like Seems Like Old Times and various television appearances. John Carpenter cast him because he wanted Nauls to provide a vital sense of youthful energy and warmth, serving as a direct contrast to the cold, stiff authority of the older scientists around him. Carter's performance is infused with incredible physical creativity, most famously showcased by his decision to skate through the tight metal corridors of the research station while listening to his boombox. This creative choice was actually developed by Carter himself, who was an expert roller skater in real life, and suggested it to Carpenter as a way to show how Nauls coped with the extreme isolation of the Arctic. However, Nauls' cheerful demeanor quickly evaporates as the creature infiltrates the camp. His final scene occurs near the end of the movie, when he wanders off into the dark, ruined corridors of the generator room after spotting a silhouette, never to be seen alive again. Behind the scenes, Carter loved the ambiguity of his character's disappearance, though he recalled that filming the late-stage sequences was incredibly exhausting, as the sets were filled with real ice, freezing fog, and unpredictable special effects explosions that kept the young actor constantly on edge. Today, at 69, Carter remains a deeply enthusiastic, incredibly charismatic presence, frequently appearing at horror conventions around the world, where he delights thousands of fans with his infectious laugh and fantastic behind-the-scenes stories about roller skating through John Carpenter's masterpiece. But as fans continue to debate whether Nauls was assimilated in the shadows, the actor who played the brilliant assistant biologist was preparing to deliver a performance defined by absolute tragic isolation. Next, among the surviving legends of Outpost 31, is the wonderful character actor Joel Polis, who delivered a wonderfully intense, deeply intelligent performance as Fuchs, the young assistant biologist who becomes the intellectual confidant to Dr. Blair, before meeting a dark, fiery end. Born on October 3, 1951, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Polis is currently 74 years old. He was 30 years old during the production of The Thing, coming to the film as an exceptionally well-trained theatrical performer with a degree from the University of Southern California and an MFA from the prestigious Yale School of Drama. The Thing actually marked Polis's very first feature film role, having been personally selected by John Carpenter out of a massive casting call due to his incredible ability to convey deep, intellectual concentration and escalating anxiety with just his eyes. Polis is central to some of the movie's most suspenseful, dialogue-driven moments. His midnight conversation with MacReady inside the frozen helicopter, where he softly warns him that Blair's notes indicate the creature wants to freeze itself until a rescue team arrives, is a masterclass in understated paranoia. Fuchs' story ends tragically when his power cuts out, forcing him to pursue a mysterious shadow outside into the blinding snowstorm with only a flashlight. His charred remains are later discovered by the crew. Behind the scenes, Polis found his first movie experience absolutely mind-blowing. He recalled that the outdoor night scenes were filmed on a massive, intricately constructed set in Stewart, British Columbia, during a real brutal winter storm, meaning the biting wind and freezing cold visible on his face as he walked into the darkness were completely authentic. Following his brilliant film debut, Joel Polis went on to build an incredibly robust, highly respected 40-year career as a premier character actor across American television and theater. Thomas G. Waits, Windows. Our look at the surviving cast brings us to the fiercely intense and deeply artistic Thomas G. Waits, who gave an incredibly raw, powerful performance as Windows, the high-strung, deeply stressed radio operator who completely unravels as the camp's vital connection to the outside world is permanently severed. Born on January 8, 1955, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Waits is currently 71 years old. He was just 26 years old during the production of The Thing, but he was already recognized as one of the most brilliant young method actors of his generation, having studied alongside Robin Williams at the legendary Juilliard School and starred as the volatile Fox in Walter Hill's iconic 1979 gang film, The Warriors. John Carpenter cast Waits because he brought a volatile, deeply human vulnerability to the screen. Windows represents how an ordinary, youthful guy would realistically react to an incomprehensible nightmare. Waits delivers an absolutely harrowing performance, most notably during the scene where he discovers the half-assimilated Bennings out in the snow, dropping his rifle in pure, paralyzed shock. His character meets a brutal end during the blood test sequence when the mutated Palmer thing attacks him, tossing him like a rag doll against the ceiling before MacReady can intervene. Behind the scenes, Waits' method acting approach occasionally led to intense creative discussions on set. He famously clashed with Carpenter over his character's reactions, even suggesting at one point that Windows should wear dark sunglasses throughout the film to hide his mounting terror, an idea Carpenter ultimately vetoed. Waits also performed many of his own intense stunts during the violent Palmer attack, recalling that the physical impact of being thrown around the upside-down set left him covered in real bruises. Keith David, Childs. The next legendary survivor of Outpost 31 is the monumental, universally revered actor, Keith David, who delivered an absolutely titanic, career-defining performance as Childs, the chief mechanic whose fierce, imposing physical presence and intense skepticism position him as the primary rival to Kurt Russell's MacReady. Born on June 4, 1956, in Harlem, New York, David is currently 70 years old. He was 25 years old during the filming of The Thing, having recently graduated from the prestigious Juilliard School's drama division. The Thing was David's very first major feature film, and John Carpenter cast him because he possessed an incredible combination of raw physical power, deep intellectual intensity, and a booming, resonant voice that could command a room, making him the only character capable of standing toe-to-toe with Russell without backing down an inch. David is central to the film's legendary, deeply philosophical ending. After the entire camp has been obliterated, Childs and MacReady sit amidst the burning, freezing ruins, completely exhausted, sharing a bottle of scotch while waiting for the cold to claim them. Neither man, and crucially neither the audience, knows if the other is still human. Behind the scenes, David's experience on his first film was both thrilling and physically hazardous. During the shooting of the late-stage chase sequences through the collapsing, smoky sets, David suffered a severe knee injury that required him to wear a heavy medical brace. To ensure filming could continue without delay, Carpenter had to carefully frame many of David's shots from the waist up, and David showed immense professional grit by pushing through the intense pain to deliver an incredibly physical performance. He also formed a lifelong friendship with Kurt Russell during the long, arduous shoot.
Kurt Russell, R.J. MacReady. We arrive at last at the legendary anchor of Outpost 31, the iconic leading man Kurt Russell, who gave an absolute masterclass in rugged, anti-heroic survival as R.J. MacReady, the cynical, whiskey-drinking helicopter pilot who reluctantly takes charge of the doomed research station. Born on March 17, 1951, in Springfield, Massachusetts, Russell is currently 75 years old. He was 30 years old during the production of The Thing, but unlike his theater-trained co-stars, Russell was already a seasoned veteran of the Hollywood studio system, having begun his career as a highly successful child star for Walt Disney Studios in the 1960s. The Thing marked his second monumental collaboration with director John Carpenter, following their massive success with Escape from New York in 1981, cementing Russell as the definitive face of Carpenter's gritty, cynical cinematic universe. Russell's performance as MacReady is the absolute engine that drives the film's intense narrative momentum. From the iconic scene where he casually pours a glass of J&B scotch into his chess computer after losing a game, to his ferocious, wild-eyed dominance during the high-stakes blood test sequence where he threatens the remaining crew with a stick of dynamite, Russell anchors the film's cosmic horror with absolute blue-collar pragmatism. Behind the scenes, Russell threw himself into the dangerous role with complete physical abandon. During the filming of the explosive climax inside the generator room, Russell actually misjudged the throw of a real live stunt dynamite prop. The resulting massive explosion blew him completely backward, a raw, unscripted moment of genuine physical peril that Carpenter loved so much he kept it in the final cut of the movie. Russell also spent weeks working closely with the practical effects crew, maintaining an incredibly positive, professional attitude that kept the entire cast grounded through the miserable, freezing filming conditions.
Following The Thing, Kurt Russell's career ascended into the absolute stratosphere of Hollywood royalty. He became one of the biggest, most versatile box office stars of the 1980s and 90s, effortlessly moving between high-octane action classics like Big Trouble in Little China and Tango and Cash, beloved westerns like Tombstone, and highly successful comedies like Overboard. In more recent years, he has enjoyed a massive, incredibly vibrant career renaissance, starring in Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight and Death Proof, joining the multi-billion-dollar Fast and Furious franchise, and portraying Ego the Living Planet in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. As mentioned at the beginning of our journey, Russell's modern life is defined by his absolute authenticity. His choice to retreat to his beautiful ranch in Colorado with his lifelong partner Goldie Hawn reflects a man who
always valued real life far more than Hollywood glitz. Today, at 75, he remains a universally beloved, legendary figure, the ultimate survivor of both Hollywood's fickle machinery and the ancient terror of Outpost 31.
To complete our comprehensive look at the entire credited cast, we must step back to the very beginning of the film's narrative and look at the two men responsible for bringing the doomed Norwegian research team to life: character actor Norbert Weisser and associate producer Larry Franco. Norbert Weisser portrayed the frantic, desperate Norwegian passenger, credited simply as Norwegian, who pursues the infected dog via helicopter in the film's opening minutes. Born on July 9, 1946 in Neu-Isenburg, Germany, Weisser is currently 79 years old. He was 35 years old during production, having immigrated to the United States in the late 1960s and become a founding member of the acclaimed Odyssey Theater Ensemble in Los Angeles. John Carpenter cast him because his authentic European background and intense theatrical presence allowed him to perfectly convey a frantic, screaming warning in Norwegian that the American characters tragically misunderstand. His opening line, "Get away from it! It's not a dog, it's a thing, it's imitating a dog," sets the entire tragic plot in motion. Following the film, Weisser enjoyed a highly prolific 40-year career as a premier character actor, appearing in masterpiece films like Schindler's List and Chaplin, as well as high-profile modern series like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Today, at 79, he remains deeply active in the Los Angeles theater scene.
Standing directly beside him in that opening sequence was Larry Franco, who portrayed the Norwegian rifleman hanging out of the helicopter. Born on April 5, 1949 in Sonora, California, Franco is currently 77 years old. He was 33 during filming and was actually serving as the film's associate producer and first assistant director. Carpenter placed Franco in the opening scene as a fun cameo because they needed someone who could coordinate closely with the stunt pilots while handling a high-powered rifle in real, freezing outdoor conditions. While his character is abruptly shot and killed by Garry outside the station, Franco's massive contribution to the film took place entirely behind the camera, where he masterfully managed the chaotic, incredibly difficult logistics of the Sub-Zero shoot. Following The Thing, Franco became one of the most successful and powerful film producers in Hollywood history, producing massive blockbusters like Batman Returns, Jumanji, Mars Attacks, and Batman Begins. Today, at 77, he is universally celebrated as a brilliant behind-the-scenes titan who helped shape the visual landscape of modern commercial cinema.
In the end, John Carpenter's The Thing is far more than just a brilliant showcase for groundbreaking practical effects. It is a profound, deeply moving monument to a specific generation of extraordinary American character actors. More than 40 years ago, these 12 men stepped into the freezing cold together, completely unaware that they were creating a timeless piece of cinematic art that would outlive many of them. The modern world continues to move forward at an unrelentless pace, and the passage of time continues to claim the physical lives of these remarkable performers. Charles Hallahan, Richard Dysart, Donald Moffat, and Wilford Brimley are gone, leaving behind empty chairs at the table of Outpost 31. Yet, through the magic of cinema, their performances remain completely untouched by time, preserved forever in the cold blue atmosphere of that Antarctic base. Decades from now, when new generations of horror fans turn down the lights to watch the hot wire descend into those dishes of blood, these men will live again. Their faces young, their eyes filled with that unforgettable, beautifully acted paranoia.
They stared into the freezing dark together, and in doing so, they achieved an absolute,
glorious immortality that time can never decay.